There are few planets as instantly recognizable as Saturn. Even from millions of kilometers away, it stands out. Bright, elegant, wrapped in enormous rings that make it look almost unreal. At first sight, Saturn feels calm and beautiful. But that first impression is deceptive. Because beneath that beauty lies one of the most violent worlds in our solar system. A planet with impossible storms, mysteries scientists still can't fully explain, moons that may harbor life, and rings that may one day disappear forever. Saturn isn't just beautiful, it's strange. And the closer scientists looked, the stranger it became. Saturn is the sixth planet from the Sun, and the second largest planet in our solar system, smaller only than Jupiter. To understand just how large it is, imagine lining up our Earth side by side across Saturn's center. It would take roughly 9 Earths just to stretch across the planet. And when it comes to volume, more than 760 Earths could fit inside Saturn. Saturn is massive, yet somehow, Saturn also manages to be surprisingly light. Saturn is the least dense planet in our solar system. If there were somehow an ocean large enough to hold it, an impossible cosmic ocean larger than imagination itself, Saturn would float, which sounds absurd, because nothing that large should float. Unlike Earth, Saturn isn't a rocky world. There is no solid surface to stand on, meaning if you somehow stood on it, you'd sink right into it. No mountains, no continents, no oceans, at least not the kind humans are familiar with. Saturn is what scientists call a gas giant. Although that can be slightly confusing, this planet isn't simply a giant ball of gas. Instead, Saturn is more like a layered world of changing states of matter. Near the top are clouds and gases, mostly hydrogen and helium, but deeper down, pressure becomes so intense that these materials begin behaving in ways that barely resemble anything found on Earth. Hydrogen becomes liquid, and even deeper, it may turn into something far stranger, metallic hydrogen, an unusual form capable of conducting electricity. At its center lies a dense core of rock, metal, and ice, buried beneath crushing pressure and unimaginable heat. And Saturn is hot, far hotter than it should be. Saturn is 1.4 billion kilometers from the Sun, a distance you couldn't possibly imagine, yet Saturn radiates around 2.5 times more energy than it receives. Scientists believe one explanation may be something called helium rain. Deep inside the planet, helium may slowly separate from hydrogen and sink towards the core, releasing heat as it falls. A giant planet where, somehow, it might actually rain energy. But before we get lost in Saturn's atmosphere, there's one thing impossible to ignore: Saturn's rings. Because Saturn without rings almost feels unimaginable. They are the reason the planet is famous. The reason even people who know almost nothing about astronomy can recognize it instantly. From a distance, Saturn's rings look smooth and solid, giant glowing bands wrapped perfectly around the planet. But up close, the illusion disappears. The rings are not solid at all. They are made mostly of water, ice, mixed with rocks and dust. Some particles are tiny, no larger than a grain of sand. Others are as large as mountains. Together, they stretch across around 280,000 kilometers of space, roughly the distance between Earth and the Moon. And yet, despite that massive width, Saturn's rings are surprisingly thin. In some places, they are only around 10 to 100 meters thick. If Saturn's rings were expanded across an entire football field, their thickness would be thinner than a sheet of paper. Thin, fragile, and surprisingly temporary, because Saturn may not have always looked this way. Scientists believe that the rings likely formed when a moon or icy object drifted too close to the planet, crossing an invisible boundary called the Roche limit, the point where Saturn's gravity becomes stronger than the object's own gravity. Slowly, the moon would have been torn apart, its fragments spreading into orbit, creating the magnificent rings seen today, a structure born from destruction. But here's the strange part. The rings may actually be young, possibly only around 100 million years old. That sounds ancient until compared to Saturn itself, which is more than 4 billion years old. Meaning, for most of Saturn's existence, those iconic rings may not have even existed. And worse, they may already be disappearing. Tiny pieces of the rings are constantly falling into Saturn, in a process scientists call ring rain. Slowly, almost invisibly, Saturn is losing the very thing that makes it iconic. In another 100 million years, a blink of an eye in cosmic time, the rings may disappear forever. One day, Saturn may stop looking like Saturn. And somehow, the planet only gets stranger from there, despite its peaceful appearance. Saturn is one of the most violent planets in our solar system. Its winds can reach speeds of around 1,800 kilometers per hour, roughly the same as a high-speed fighter jet on our Earth. Entire storm systems rage across the atmosphere with unimaginable force, and Saturn spins insanely fast. A single day there lasts only about 10.5 hours. That fast rotation actually changes Saturn's shape. Instead of being perfectly round, Saturn looks flattened at the poles and bulges outward around the middle like a spinning water balloon. Its atmosphere also gives Saturn its famous pale golden color. High in the upper clouds, ammonia crystals scatter sunlight, creating the soft yellow appearance visible from space. But Saturn's weather isn't just powerful. Sometimes it becomes unusual. At both poles, giant storms rage almost permanently. The South Pole hosts a hurricane-like vortex, unlike anything found on Earth. But the North Pole is stranger still, because Saturn has something scientists never expected to find. A hexagon-shaped storm, a near-perfect six-sided weather system spinning around the planet's North Pole, large enough for multiple Earths to fit inside it. And despite decades of research, scientists still don't fully understand why it exists. Somehow, Saturn turned geometry into weather. Then comes the Great White Spot, a massive storm system that erupts every 30 Earth years. When it appears, the storm becomes so large, it can wrap around the entire planet. Imagine a hurricane stretching across the whole circumference of Earth. That's the scale Saturn operates on. And yet, as strange as Saturn itself is, the planet may not even be the most fascinating thing in its own system, because orbiting Saturn are at least 146 moons, and some of them are extraordinary. The largest is Titan, a moon bigger than Mercury. But Titan isn't just large, it's familiar in disturbing ways. Titan has rivers, lakes, rain, clouds, even seasons. But instead of water, Titan's rivers and lakes are made of liquid methane and ethane. An alien world that strangely feels like Earth, just written with different chemistry. Then there is Enceladus, a small, bright ice giant. Some could call it beautiful, until scientists discovered something remarkable. beneath its icy shell may exist a hidden global ocean. NASA's Cassini spacecraft detected cosmic tiger stripes, which is large streams of water vapor, ice particles, and organic compounds, erupting from cracks near its south pole. Those streams suggest warm liquid water may exist beneath the surface. And where there is liquid water, scientists begin asking difficult questions. Could life exist there? Humanity's understanding of Saturn changed because we went there. In 1979, Pioneer 11 became the first spacecraft to fly close to Saturn. Then came Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, revealing details never seen before. But the mission that transformed Saturn forever was Cassini. Cassini was launched in 1997 and arrived Saturn's orbit in 2004. Cassini spent 13 years studying Saturn, its rings and its moons. Its discoveries completely changed what scientists thought they knew. Cassini revealed methane lakes on Titan, evidence of a hidden ocean on Enceladus, the beautiful structure of Saturn's rings, the strange behavior of its storms. Cassini studied Saturn's radio emissions, sounds converted into audio that feel haunting. But after 13 years of discoveries, NASA faced a problem. Cassini was running out of fuel, and there was a risk. If the spacecraft accidentally crashed into Titan or Enceladus, it could contaminate them with bacteria from Earth, potentially destroying future searches for alien life. So NASA made a difficult decision. Cassini would be destroyed. In 2017, after years studying Saturn, the spacecraft began one final mission. A deep dive directly into the atmosphere of the planet it had spent years exploring, sending back data to Earth until the very last moment, then disappearing forever. A mission ending inside the very world it helped humanity understand. Saturn is often called the most beautiful planet in our solar system, and maybe it is. But beauty isn't what makes Saturn unforgettable. It's the mystery. A planet with storms we still don't fully understand. A giant hexagon no one expected. Moons that may hold the ingredients for life. And rings that might one day disappear forever. The more scientists learn about Saturn, the stranger it becomes. And somehow, it still feels like humanity has only just begun to understand it.